We have a very special guest on the call today. And just to kind of brag on him quite a bit, I haven't had the chance to, I don't know everything about Mac, but here's what I do know is that he helps a bunch of families each and every month. He's helping he's helping over 70 families a month. So if you're thinking like, am I on the right call? Like you're definitely on the right call. So this is the one that you want to lean in, take notes, and just take steps of action. In talking to a lot of you guys that have seen an up and up, the biggest thing that I hear is I take something from every single call. From every single call, I take something and I implement it. It could be the smallest thing or the biggest thing, but you're taking it and you're implementing it, because to know and not to do is not to know, right? So I love that a lot of you guys are seeing that. So let's lean in. Mac, how are you doing today?
Life is good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being on. We don't take it lightly, and we're going to be very respectful of your time. But just to kind of hit the call off, Mac, first and foremost, how do I say your last name? I don't want to say it wrong.
Just think of a Texas Aggie riding an Arkansas boar. Aggie boar. You'll never forget.
Mac Agabor. Mac Agabor.
You'll never
All
forget.
right. Perfect. So we got Mac Agabor on the call with us today, and Mac's day is going very well, as he said, and he's helping over 70 families a month. So it's like, my day is going really well too. So again, you're on the right call, but without further ado, Mac, if you don't mind, just a quick introduction of, who you are, what kind of got you started with Family First Life or in the industry, and why Family First Life.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me again. Appreciate you and everything you're doing, pouring into your team. And like you said earlier, there's nothing that is going on in your life that a little dose of AP won't fix, right? So if Sean Mike was the doctor, he'll say, have a couple of AP and call me in the morning. So just remember, I'll say this way to start off the training. In life, there's situations and then there's problems. And the challenge a lot of the times is we confuse problems with situation. A problem is something money can fix. Cancer. Maybe depending on the treatment, your dad died, right? Those things money can fix. But the truth is, a lot of us, we just got situations, hey, I'm stressed. Why? Come on, let's be real, because we don't have enough coming in. Or, hey, I'm stressed. Why? Well, my mom, my dad, has happened to them. If you had a certain check or a certain amount of money in your bank account, would that solve the situation? Normally, the answer is yes. So we're here because we have situations that we want to solve, not only for ourselves, but for other people, right? Once you've solved your problem, your situation, now it's time to help other people. So I just want to say that to kind of say what we do matters. We are changing generations, first with your own, then your family. So I say that because that's why I got started. I came in the business. I was working oil and gas. I'd done just about everything. I was a banker. I did that. I wasn't making enough money. I was the number one guy in the bank. And I remember, at the time, my wife and I, we had, I think we had 6, 7 kids, something like that. We lose count after a while, right? I mean, come on, right? And I just wasn't making enough money. And I remember this one guy came to the bank, this kid, 19 years old, I think 20. And I'm looking, and I know he has more in his account than I do. And he wasn't, because he had special skills. I asked him, what do you do? He goes, I work in the oil field. I said, really? Anyway. And turns out, I said, you know what, let me go do it. And it was on faith, guys. I'll say this, as if you're taking notes, there's something called quantum leaps. The same effort that it takes for you to go from brand new to succeeding in whatever industry that you are good at or you were good at, it's the same quantum leap effort it takes you to go from whatever level you're at now to the next one. I never done oil and gas before. Again, guys, I was so broke. Some of you take it for granted. At lunchtime, I'm a banker. I'm suited up. If you came into Chase, you couldn't tell. Mac is G'd up. I couldn't even get a drink if I wanted to, because the account was tight, right? Anyway, so I used the last funds that I had. And guys, in order to get your commercial driver's license, it costs money. And you had to go to a class, take time off of work. I'm thinking in my head, how can I do this? I couldn't take time off of work because they would have fired me, right? I'm like, do I have the, $1,000, $1,500 to go to class? Well, no, I don't. I had to get the Cliff Notes version. So you know what I did? I'm Googling, I'm trying to figure out these solutions. I called this guy, he's a trainer. I said, hey, I'm trying to get my commercial driver license, and I'm trust me, guys, I'm going somewhere with this, so just stick with me. So he goes, well, I'm a trainer, so if I give you all the the insights, you can't use me. But here's what I got for you. I do. He says, if you pay, I said, you have a truck, because you got to have a truck, like I'm semi, to go do a test. I'm like, nope, I don't got that. So he goes, well, you can rent my truck. It's about $200 for the test. And if you pass the test, you got it. I'm like, how am I going to pass the test? I read the book. He goes, there's a video online. I can't tell you any more than that, but go to this website. Wink, wink. Hey, if anyone's watching this, hey, just give him a little leeway. He was trying to help me out. I go to the video, y'all, and it was like $200. And that was like $2,000 to me. But I knew this was my salvation. So I didn't have any way to test out. I had a friend who had a truck. I jumped in his. I listened, and I kind of saw what he did. My wife and I, we got a little trailer from a buddy of mine. I'm practicing backing in. Guys, I do all this. I show up one day. I have my suit on to do this test at 6 a.m. He looks at me. He's like, "What are you doing, boy?" He gives me some overalls because what is a guy in a suit doing? Like, anyway, guys, by the grace of God, I passed this exam. It was a miracle. I know I go up to North Dakota, and I hadn't made that much money in my life, y'all. I mean, I was making probably 40 grand a year as a banker, maybe 50 with incentives. Went from that in 6 months, I did 101,000. And that was like, for me, mind blowing. And it wasn't because it was hard. You're in negative 60-degree weather, all that stuff. And I was willing to do it. One of the big reasons I decided to do this, to go do something else, I did need to make more money, but my mom was in Africa. We found out she wasn't doing very well, and I was making such little that I couldn't give my family and hers. I just didn't have enough. And this is my mom, y'all, right? I remember days in Africa, kid you not, she would work a full day, come home, make food, take a bite of the food, give it to my brother and my sister and myself. She would eat anymore. That's it. I was a kid when I was 80 years old when I came. I remember that. I'm like, there is no way I'm letting my mom down. So I go up to North Dakota, man, I was freezing my butt off. And I'm telling you this story for a reason. So stick with me. I remember this one time, most people quit. It's negative 50, 60, craziness. And they're looking for reasons to get the new guys out, right? It's like, it's in common hazing. I remember this one day, y'all. I'm sitting out there about to freeze to death. Equipment was down, and most people get to cab up in the truck, but they don't let the new guys do it. I'm thinking, I gotta quit, and my fingers are burning, right? And I start thinking about my mom, and it's negative. I mean, we got all the suit, the Michelin Man looking guy out there, and I start crying. You know why I started crying? Because I said to myself, I'd rather die than quit. At least they would say Mac was a freedom fighter. At least he was trying. And it's funny too, because when you let go and you just decide, it's just crazy how things just happen. And I started doing calisthenics out there. Like, people are looking at me like I'm like jumping up, doing Sean T. Dude, you do what you got to do. But I made it, and hey, it was only supposed to last a couple of years. I ended up being there for almost 6-7 years. It was crazy. And of course, after the season, I realized that I'm just getting paid adult minimum wage. Between my wife and I, we were making $250,000 a year. And I got this health issue that happened to me. And I got this tumor. I was young. I think I was 32. I was an athlete all my life. I'm a semi-pro soccer player. And from being the doctor said I would only be out of work for about 6 weeks. I ended up not being able to work for about 2.5 years. Guys, from being broke like a joke, having all these kids, I'm talking living on food stamps, and feeling that I had fought my way to liberation. Like, got out of debt, paid off student loans, got the house, I had it all. And I went to zero, got bankrupt, bankrupt. And depression, I was out. I didn't want to do another opportunity. And in between all this, I tried network marketing. I done all these different deals here and there. And I just didn't think I could win anymore, right? Because here's the deal. Raising a business is like raising a child. When you lose a business or you lose it's like you're losing your baby. And I had lost myself, and kind of picked myself back up. Didn't know what I wanted to do. And a friend of mine called me up about life insurance. I was like, dude, what? Life? Nah. Nope, hell no, right? Anyway, this is, if you're taking notes, recruiting is a process, not an event, right? The top, there's some players that they just decide immediately, but if you're consistent, the players will find you. Anyway, and it was 2 years. So 2 years fast forward, we decided to leave the oil field, and we were looking for something. Guys, we were praying to God. There are people praying to God for this opportunity right now. I don't know what it was. Now, we were making good money. I didn't go back. I kind of went back in the oil field, not in the same regard, but I was doing something, making similar money, but it was time to be gone. I mean, I was gone all the time. I was working 15 hours a day. That was normal, y'all. That was just normal to make the bills, right? And because you were making six figures, everyone was making six figures. If you breathe, if you can fog a mirror, you're making six figures, because that's just what you did in North Dakota, because they don't take you out there for the scenery, right? But we say, you know what, we're going to give that up. We want to go have a life. And we decided to come to Arizona. We knew there was going to be income drop, and we don't know how in the world we're going to make the income. But God put things in place. We found a house that fit us. You know, we had a family of 10 kids at the time. We got a house, which was a miracle in itself. You know, can you imagine the landlord seeing what? Everyone said no and hell no, right? We were like praying. We got in this house, and I got this job, and the job was okay, but I knew I could do more, and I didn't know what it was. And anyway, one thing led to another. I got into life insurance. I said, I'll take a stab at it. The way, just to be full transparency, the way I got in. So I remember Joe Miller, he said, you know what, and he believed in me. He knew that I could do it, even though I didn't know. So sometimes the Bible says we love him because he first loved us. Sometimes you have to believe in someone first, in whatever regard that is, before they will believe in themselves. And anyway, he hired me as a recruiter. I was like, all right, I can do that, you know. And I'm spitting the magic, you know, preaching the FFL doctrine to all these people, you know, bringing them in left and right. And after about, 2 weeks, I'm like, let me in, coach. Can I take a stab at it? And so he said, yeah. So I went at it my first half month. I helped about 15 families, and it's never been that bad since, Next month I did 20, I helped 20, 22. Next one, it was like 24. And then, next one, it was like 22 again. Then I hit 42, then 58, then 70. Then I was like pinching myself, right? Anyway, that's how I got into business. And again, I say that to say it's not in any way, shape on my own. I just thank God. Can you imagine had I not at least given myself a shot? Can you imagine how someone not believed in me enough to say, you know what, I'll take you on, That's how I got here.
Love it. And you just dropped a bunch of different things there, from starting with situations versus problems. Now, just like Mac just said, guys, any situation that we're in right now is one that we can solve with AP, with going out and helping families. And I love how you talked about you didn't necessarily believe in yourself at that point in time when you made that transition to insurance, but it sounds like you believed in yourself every time before that, like with any other venture, right? You talked about soccer really briefly. You talked about trucking, right? It's like you knew you could do it. You made it, right? You sat in the cold. You got it done. But it's the same mindset that it seems like you definitely brought here. It just needed to be essentially adopted, right? And like you mentioned, Joe Miller helped you believe in yourself. And I love the fact that you were recruiting, and then you were like, you know what, I could do this. Like, I'm on the phone hiring or helping people, get started all day doing this. Why can't I do it? And that's what it takes, is that belief, that borrowed belief, right? You borrowed Joe's belief in you and said, hey, if he thinks I can do it, and also you were probably thinking like, and all these fools can do it, right? Like,
100%.
why can't I? Why can't I? Right?
You know what's interesting, Marie said,
yeah.
it's the story. The reason I told you that story about working in the oil field is because in America, a normal workday is 8 hours. That's normal. So here's what I know about FFL. You have to have an above average work ethic. So if average is 8 hours and above average is what? More. So here's what I'm really grateful for. The oil field taught me how to work. It was normal to work 12 hours. That was just normal. And so when I'm out there, 12, 15, 18 hours a day, I'm like, and we look at what we do here, come on. So my reason I say that is this: the biggest challenge with FFL, the successes we have, it has nothing to do with FFL. It's about you. It's you versus you. And if you can break the barrier, some of us were lucky enough where we did things in the past that allowed us to have faith in our work ethic. And that's where it came in. Yes, I had been preaching the FFL doctrine over the phone. It wasn't so much, I still didn't believe in myself, but I believed and I knew how to work. And if Joe said, listen, it's all about work. If it's about work, it's game over because I can work.
Right. You're like, I'll work you any day of the week. So like, let's do this thing. Cause like you said, oil field, 16, 18, like 20 hours. Like you're like, this is cake. I'm in my car, going to people's houses. Maybe I get some no-shows, right? Like no big deal. I'm helping a lot of families. And another thing you dropped in the beginning too, that I don't want to oversee is you mentioned that you got into these different, you did different things, A, for your family, but B, to help other people too, right? Like it's for your family. And by the way, you have like the most beautiful family I've ever seen. I just want to put that out there.
Hey,
I was
thank you.
I was I was on your Facebook and I was like, wow, like this is just like you guys are amazing. So just
Thank
shout
you.
out there. But in terms of that work ethic, like you're saying, it's you had the faith, right? Of like, okay, I'm here because I know my work ethic is here. So if I just have to work hard, like it's game over. Like you already had the win in your head at that point, right? So I love that. And I love that story because guys, it always does go back to that. There's times that I still have it like a week that I'm like, can I do this? And it's like I've been in this industry for a long time. Like, it's like Marisa, you know the answer, but on a particular day, it might feel like I can't do it. But then it's reinstilled in me, hey, you have 6 appointments, you go out, you do the same thing, and you're like, okay, wow, I thought my schedule could have been a lot better. I could have done better, but still I was able to get out there, help some families, had a lot better of a day than 90% of America, right? Like in terms of income, anyways. And that's a big deal, guys. Sometimes we'll go out, we'll have one bad day, and we're like, oh, this bad day, and I only helped 2 families. And it's like, well, if you correlate that to any other position, like what does that actually look like, right? So sometimes just a reality check. And I think that's what you just gave me, Mac, in a couple different areas is that reality check of look what we're doing, we're serving, we're helping people, and we're winning at the same time. Everybody's winning. The client's winning. We're winning as the agents. People you're bringing onto your team, they're winning. It's a win all around. And there's enough for everybody is also what I'm hearing Mac say, right? Mac, you were hiring people maybe in and around your area, maybe not, maybe across the country. It doesn't matter. But you weren't like, oh, well, if Johnny's doing it in my backyard, then I'm not going to be able to do it, right? Like that, there was no limiting belief there, right? So
100%.
with that all being said, Mac, talk to us a little bit about your schedule, your appointment count, your lead flow, kind of like that activity piece. Talk to us a little bit about what that looks like and why it's important for you.
Great question. I think when I came to the business, I was not about hope. Hope is not a plan, right? I was all about strategy. There wasn't one. I was just told go and just dial. So I was like, you know what? Here's the faith that I had. I heard it once that if you want to win, you need to double your rate of failure. So I asked what the average was, how many leads are typically dialed. I said, okay, well, I assumed I just sucked. That's what I did. And I embraced that fact instead of having the ego of I should, right? And that's one of the challenges we have. We sometimes should all over to ourselves, right? Because we think things should be a certain way. I had no ego. And so I got, I think they said 100 leads. I said, you know what? I'll dial, 200, 250. I just dialed and dialed. And here's what I discovered. And this is just my ratio. I consulted with Eric Schmidt and some other integrity partners that have been in the business longer than me. I discovered that if I dial a sufficient number of leads, the rest is history. Typically, what I should find is for internet leads, each lead type has a different answer rate, but I'm a numbers guy. I discovered that internet leads is about a 25 to 30% answer rate. So I discovered that if you dial 200 leads, you should have about 50 people pick up the phone. Guys, take that number to the bank. Of the 50, half will say, go pound sand, leave me alone, F off, something stupid. Leaves you with 25 of that you're fishing from, like a real pool. And that's where you'll book your appointment. You should be able to book, I would say 8 to 12 to 15 appointments based on your skill set. If you work on the phone skills, you'll get the same objections. I already got it, I don't remember, not in, all that stuff. And that's where your skills come in. And I was able to book those appointments. Again, let's say you book 10, you'll have about a 20% no-show rate. So you'll sit on 8, you'll sell 4. Guys, I just went backwards. So here's what I know. For each dial day, at a minimum, if I'm dialing and I'm booking for in-homes, gotta have about 200 leads. 150 typically, but just 200 to be safe. That was it. And hey, I was always going for 30 appointments a week, but Anna, my wife, did the numbers. She said on average, I did about 15 appointments a week. Now, some people are different, some are not. I mean, I was doing the best I could, right? But here's what I loved is your ratio will increase, meaning your closing ratio will increase. So with a 30% closing ratio, that's what I did. So when I started this business, I had a 30% closing ratio and I went up, right? Andrew Taylor, he had a 30% closing ratio. So he would have to run all week, right? Paul McLean, he had like a 90% closing ratio. So he can run half the week, be done. But at the end of the day, they had the same income. How is that? Because they knew your numbers. So to go back to your question, you have to know your numbers. Everyone this is the same business for everyone, same comp, same carriers. But here's the truth. Everyone starts on the starting line differently, right? So if you don't know your baseline, you're in trouble. So if I have a new agent, I ask them, the first thing I ask them, just to see where we can kind of strategize, show me your tracking sheet. I need to know what their baseline is. What is their average answer rate? How many appointments do they normally book from certain leads? Because, hey, you may suck. And I'm okay saying that word. If that makes you recoil, you have a problem with ego. Because, hey, if it takes you 100 leads to book one appointment, how many leads does it take you to book 2? 200. Some people are like, oh, woe is me. No, that is liberating because now you know how to increase your level of success. So for me, that's what made it go so fast is I suck faster. I assumed I was really, really bad. I just suck faster.
I love that. And I think that a lot of what you just said is huge because I always say, if you don't know your numbers, like you don't know your business, right, guys? And whether it's you and you're helping 5 families a month or you're helping, 500 families a month, you need to know your numbers because like Mac's saying, it's really easy to get emotional when you're like, well, I dialed all day and this is what I got and this is how many leads I bought. But you don't know how many dials you made. You don't know how many people you talked to. You don't know what they were saying. And you don't know how many dials you even made. So we have nothing to go off of. With no data, we can't help you fix something. Like you could be the best person, you could be like, there's some underlying skills there and you could be the best person to quote unquote fix it. But if you don't know your numbers, like he's saying, Mac, you're saying, hey, if you book one person off of 100 leads, which obviously, like you said, embrace the suck, right? But you know your ratio. And from there, it's always going to go up, right? That's the other thing. I always talk about healthy people in this business, Mac. And typically it's not that they take off and they're, they go from helping 5 families, helping 60 next month. That's like a red flag to me. But when you start tracking numbers and you start knowing your ratios and taking that into account, it's huge because now you're in control. Now there's nothing to be emotional about. You can't be emotional about data. It's only data, right? So I love that you're saying everyone starts at a different baseline. If you don't know or you're not caring to track your baseline, track it. And I love how you said, Mac, you have a 13% closing rate. Is that what you said?
30%.
Okay, 30%. All right. Better than 13, but hey, still. But now it's a lot higher. Is that fair?
About 60.
That's about 60.
Actually, I was wrong. Anna says about 80% now.
It
gets better.
Okay, so see, getting better each and every day, truly. So, hey, your wife's on top of that. I love it.
Let me share this if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
I think our greatest strength is our greatest weakness. And I can say this from having seen both. The greatest strength that all of us have here today is that we were born in the greatest country in the world. That's America. The greatest weakness we have is we were born in the greatest country in the world. That's America. Because we, unfortunately, when it comes to difficulty and hard, we don't really understand and know what that is, right? We are born in a society where we can pretty much get anything we want. You want a burger, go get it, right? You want something, it's instant. One of the things that I'm so grateful that my past prepared me for was the concept of the slight edge. If you don't have that book, go get it. That book is the best book. Over and over, it just gets better. Because The normal life, this is just the circle of life, like Lion King, like the circle of life, right? It's you plant, you cultivate, you harvest. You can't just plant and harvest, right? That doesn't work. That's like wanting to make money and go rob a bank, right? You can't do that. Most of us, we got this idea, well, I just want it now. We don't understand, but the truth is you have been bred in a bubble where you don't respect that. You don't respect the work it takes. If you did, you would look at your numbers and you wouldn't be so down on yourself. You would realize you are brand spanking new. You were supposed to suck. When someone is mad at me because they haven't hit 20 families, stop disrespecting me. You know how hard I had to work to get there? Stop disrespecting Paul McLean. Stop disrespecting the DiMaggio. You know how hard? That's like me just being mad at Michael Jordan because I can't shoot threes because I've only been playing basketball for a month. For real? He worked every day. Why would it be different for you? And the reason that you're still fighting against that concept is you have not accepted and embraced the slight edge. And so for me, for one person where they're down when they have low numbers, as long as I have the results and I have the numbers to back me up, oh, it's game over. Because I know I will get better. That's the difference of the slight edge. So a plug for that book, y'all. Get the book, read 10 pages every day, and it'll be like just plants. Just little by little, your mind will change. And I'll say this last thing, and trust me, I'll get off my soapbox. You got to work hard on yourself when you do this business. Yeah. It isn't about an FFL. FFL is just the Ferrari, y'all. It's the Ferrari. You just don't know how to drive. That's all, right? So if you're hitting things and you're like, it ain't the Ferrari's fault, it's you. And if you can get better at driving your mind, getting that negativity, all that stuff out of it, the only difference between you and the number one income earner here is what's in here. Some of y'all don't believe me. You're like, no, it's because my mom used to beat me. No, it's because of you right here. If you can fix this, it's game over. So thank you, Marissa. I appreciate you. Let me say that.
Absolutely. No. And that was all good stuff. And I love how you said, like, you know, the biggest blessing is that we're born here. And it's also essentially goes both ways, right, guys? And that's the thing. It's like, just like let's actually think about what Mac just said, right? Like, he's like, okay, am I going to be mad at Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan's going off in basketball? Like, can I compare myself to Michael Jordan? Is that even fair to compare myself to Michael Jordan? Is it fair to me, right? Because what goes on, like you said, up here is going to impact whatever you're doing. And you guys know I always say this too, work harder on yourself than you do on your job, and your job will reap those rewards. And that's exactly what I'm hearing here. FFL is the Ferrari. All the tools are here, but it's up to you. What are you going to do with them? And how are you going to react or respond when things don't go your way? Are you going to get back up and do it again and try it again? Or are you going to blame the leads, blame the people, blame the county, blame the zip code, blame, you know, the guy across the street? What's the plan, right? Or are we going to take self-accountability and realize this is literally, debatably, 95 to 99% mental? That's all this is. And belief in within yourself and understanding yourself, right? So a lot of the stuff you just said is huge. And I just want to make sure that doesn't go unnoticed, because at the end of the day, guys, if you don't track your numbers, just like Max said, like, I don't feel bad. Like, I don't feel bad that, you know, I've helped over 60 families in a month, but like, if someone's calling me that works like one day a week, maybe, like, I don't feel bad. You don't know your numbers. You don't get on the team call. You don't plug in. Like, are you even here? Are you here? Right? Because it doesn't matter. You can be here physically for attendance, and that's you. But are you mentally paying attention? Because that's all this is. It's a big mental game. But once you figure out the pieces, it's like, it's not a game. Now you're playing the game. The game's not playing you, right? So I love that, Matt. And then you have a really positive mindset, and you know, you kind of hit a bit on this. But how important is it to have the proper mindset as you're navigating through this business? Whether you're new, you're a bit seasoned, but just how important is that? And how do you kind of handle that day to day?
I always think of mindset because English is the language we use to communicate. Speaking is one thing, but communication is a whole different ballgame. When people say things, whether it's properly communicated to your mind, you heard it, but did it communicate and resonate? If it didn't communicate and resonate, it's your job to make sure that it gets there. So let me just clarify mindset. When people would say that, I'd be like, kumbaya. That sounds like kumbaya stuff, like mindset. Here's what it means. I'm more of a visual person. Anyone ever went to college, or if you haven't, you know about college, where there's certain prerequisites that you need to take a certain class, right? Like, if you have to take calculus, you have to have algebra, blah, 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 right? If you haven't taken those prerequisites, you can't take algebra. I mean, you can't take calculus. So mindset is an equivalent of the prerequisites required to even get into the game of success. So if you come to the calculus class, let's say calculus class is FFL, you haven't even taken algebra, or hey, maybe you didn't take normal algebra, but you know algebra. As long as you can prove it and you can use that skills, you're good. But mindset is about those things in your mind that have gotten you ready. So you coming into doing dials, you thinking, oh, I have to be here. Leads are gonna say no. Well, yeah, they are. Yeah, that's the game. They're supposed to say no. If everyone said yes, there would be no opportunity, right? So mindset is the way you think about it. So you should analyze your mindset to say, what kind of prerequisite, what kind of mindset do I have? I'm just being real. Listen, just real talk, y'all. Just real talk. It takes 5 years to change your life from start to finish. If you were a bum, I'm talking on the street, 5 years, you can be a millionaire. Not saying it can't happen sooner, but let's say you're starting from zero right now. I'm talking you sucked, no money in your bank account, but you had resources. Question is, are you comfortable to go from here to having $1 million agency? Are you okay for it to take 5 years? Embrace that. Okay, it's gonna take 5 years. What kind of mindset hacks do you have to change? Well, first things first, that you have the power, that everything you need is within you. There is nothing lacking because you have it all. When you think someone else has it, that's a problem, because you feel powerless, right? And how does it feel feeling powerless? It sucks, right? I've been there before. So again, the leads. Is it the leads' fault or is it your fault? If you blame the leads, you are a slave for life. Guys, true story. Get this. This last week, we have an agent. Got him some leads. We believed in him. Got him some leads. He called. Actually, no. I sold on some leads, and we know we buy leads every week, right? You always buy leads every week. You don't just wait and try to buy the leads or call the leads from last week. So I sold on them and I moved on. I said, you know what? So agent needed some leads. I got him the no answers, got him those leads. Dude, there are 10 families on the leads. 10 families. He's still selling those. Okay, well, he said, and then another agent came in. He's new. He needed some leads. We went the no answers on those leads. His first week did help 5 families his first week. Same leads. Not only that, get this. We have an agent right now in the office, outside of this office. He called a lead last week. Lead's like, well, stop calling me. Leave me alone. Called the lead back today. It happened just like an hour ago. He said, oh, yeah, I'll be ready tomorrow. 12 o'clock? Yep, I'll be there. Right? So again, mindset is, are we blaming the leads, or do you say to yourself, is there something, how could I have changed that? Oh, hey, no big deal, bad time, move on, right? That kind of mindset of, here's the key mindset for me, guys. I always have an idea of abundance. There's enough out there. Here's what I mean by that. In each lead batch, I believe God put us here to win. This isn't some sick joke where you're just going, ha ha, right? There's families in each lead batch that you are meant to serve. Like, they wouldn't resonate with Mac, but they resonate with you. Maybe that's why you didn't get hold of them. Maybe that's why you didn't click. So that mindset has always empowered me. And it's not about money for me. Because of what happened in my family. Again, the reason I serve, I had life insurance when I had the tumor. I lost everything, went bankrupt because I didn't have living benefits. And I thought to myself, man, had I known, I wouldn't have gone bankrupt. I wouldn't have lost everything I had. And so I was going to go to medical school, because, when you've made a lot of money, life stops becoming about making money. It just gets old, right? It starts becoming about, how can I serve people and still make money? How can I give more? And so as I'm able to serve these folks, guys, it's very rare you have an opportunity where you're able to, people get more in use value than you get in cash value, right? You help protect the family. Next week, next year, mom, dad, sister, brother dies. Heartache is, I mean, they're still hurting emotionally, but the financial burden's gone. You got paid, yeah, you got compensated, but who really got the bulk of the blessing here? The family did every time, right? So to be able to do that, that's the kind of mindset. You are serving, right? You're a parent. They ask for help. If someone's drowning and they're like kind of knock your hand away, are you gonna say, well, all right, brother, see ya? Or are you gonna keep fighting for them? They just don't know better. So that's the kind of mindset. I hope that answered your question.
It does. It does. And that's huge because I love how you talk about the prerequisites, right? And you're saying your mindset is your prerequisite, right? And that's so true. And it's probably one of the best analogies on mindset I've ever heard, just to be really transparent. That was amazing. Because like you said, everything you need is within you. And I believe that, 100%. Now, excuses are going to come up, things are going to come up, but Mac just told a story about a lead batch. It was a very simple story. Like, I don't think like Mac, like, did you make that up last night? You were like, I need something to like right now. You were like, I'm just here and this is what's going on, right? Exactly. So with that being said, guys, I love how you said God puts us here to win. So there's certain people in those lead stacks that I'm supposed to serve, that Mac's supposed to serve, that Rami's supposed to serve, that Helena's supposed to serve, and so on. And I truly believe that. When I dial through my leads, like that's a true belief. It's like, well, you know what? Like Ron answered the phone for Rami, so that should be Rami's appointment because obviously he answered for a reason, right? And typically it's they go out, they help that family. Mac just used an example of redialing on leads that he already dialed on, already helped a lot of families. And then he was able to pass them on to a new agent, which is a blessing. Give them some leads to start with, right? And they helped 10 families. Now, another agent, 5. Another agent's booking appointments off those leads as we speak. So it's amazing, guys. Like, don't cut yourself short, but also don't kick yourself in the butt too hard. Like Max said, people are supposed to say no. If everybody said yes, everybody would do this and it wouldn't be as great as it is today. So Matt, that definitely answered my question there. Last couple of questions for you would be, how do you share the opportunity with your warm market?
Great question. You know what I did initially? I was a secret agent because I was tapped out of network marketing. I'd done the lotions. I didn't lotions, but I did all that stuff. And I hated the idea of being needy. I hated, even though I made money, I did one time, I did 100 grand in network marketing, but I hated the idea that I needed you to make money. And I was done with it. So for the first, 3 months, I told nobody about FFL. But after a while, I started realizing, you know how selfish that is, dude? Like, you are selfish. There are people struggling right now, traveling. Did you forget what you had to do in North Dakota? I worked, literally, I would drive 14 hours. I would work 2 weeks straight, not see my family. Then I would drive 14 hours back home, be off for maybe 3-4 days, then do it again. That was the normal shift. Anyway, I kind of transitioned. So initially, if you're doing well, some friend, they say, hey guys, hey, just text is a wonderful thing. Hey, I've been thinking about you. I felt bad not sharing this with you. You probably won't be interested. Say no first. That gives you power, right? You probably won't even want this, but I thought of you when I did this. I just helped a family, and I made X amount. Would you be open to taking a look? So when I kind of got bold, I just sent people screenshots of my bank account. People that were like, nah, they're like, hey, let me get in this bad boy, right? So, but if you're brand new, you've done nothing, it's okay. Hey, I was just thinking about you. I thought you would be really good at this, but hey, it may not be for you. And I just literally just remember this number, 2 a day. 2 a day brings freedom your way. Just share the FFL story with 2 people a day, or ask the question 2 times a day. Now, in the past, that used to be hard. Guys, we got online. I mean, how hard is it to send a message to someone, stranger? Hey, would you keep your options open? Yeah, what is it? Perfect. And then when they say, what is it? Don't talk, shut up, send them a video, the Rogue IMO video. That's it. Do it twice a day, guys. Guys, I'm telling you, 2 times a day. I don't know if someone could do the math. That's 2 stories being shared every day. In a year, you got to be able to find 5 folks that see more than just paying the bills and dying. and you help those 5 do the same thing, it's game over. That, again, it's the long-term effect. So don't think of it like you're just gonna, put it in the microwave and then just poof. That's how you do it, build. But if you build with warm market, you're gonna find that it's one thing if you help people that are strangers, but when you help people that are your friends, man, it's wonderful, guys. I mean, it's lonely at the top, they say, because everyone just sticks at the bottom and they're crowded. But when you're able to win with your friends, like, guys, right now, man, I can go on I could go to the movies, but if I want to go to Cancun, none of my friends that have a job can do it. But my friends that are working with me, we can go together. And that's how I am. I like to travel. I found out by myself when I was traveling. I don't really like to travel. I like to hang out with people traveling. I've gone places myself. It's like boring. But who can you go with if it's not the folks that you work with? And there are people And the last thing I'll tell you this as well. Remember the law of 7 degrees. I'm talking agency owners. It's literally 7 degrees. There's someone that that they know. It's just 7 degrees. So when you are recruiting, don't recruit to Ryan. There's someone Ryan knows. Recruit through Ryan. Ryan, hey, who do you know that? Who do you know that? Who do you know that could be good at this? And you'd be surprised. I'm telling y'all, just remember, when you can, and again, this is something that you may be new at, but get your leadership involved, right? If you just at least start the process, you're going to change someone's life forever. Just start.
Absolutely. And I love what you just said in regards to, in the beginning, you didn't want to share, like, you didn't really want to talk about it with anybody. You were just kind of, a secret agent. That's exactly what you said. And it's the best way to put it. Meaning you weren't advertising it, so to say. But then you realize, hey, I'm being selfish because this changed me and my family's life, right? It made it for the better. And you've seen that at this point. Mm-hmm. And you're like, so who am I to say no for somebody else, right? So you're basically reaching out, hey, you might not really be interested, but I'd kind of feel a bit bad if I didn't reach out to you, let you know I've been doing this thing, boom, send a screenshot, whatever it might be, or utilize other people. I don't like to talk about myself anymore, like to that extent. So sometimes I'll send a screenshot of somebody in Slack and say, hey, like, this is Gianna, she's been killing it. Why aren't you working with me? Right? Like just like Max said, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You're just simply reaching out with an opportunity. You're probably not interested anyways, but I wouldn't feel right if I didn't share it. And 2 a day, I love that. What did you say? 2 a day does what?
It brings freedom your way.
2 a day brings freedom your way. That I love it, because just like Max saying, if you bring 2 people from not knowing to knowing about Family First Life, you're sharing the opportunity. And my math is not that good, but with over 700 people in the year, you're going to have people that want to get started, right? So, and if you're scared or intimidated by that process, just like Max said, reach out to your leadership team. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to help with. So I love that. And how you just essentially were like, you know what? I want to be able to do things with the people I love and care about. So if they want to do this thing with me, now we can travel together. We can do things together, right? Like everyone's involved. And like, that's the beauty of it as well from a warm market stance. But Mac, thank you so much. Last thing before we hop off with you today, this has been very helpful, by the way. What advice would you give to an agent that isn't getting the results that they want right now? You already gave a lot of advice on that, but what's maybe like just a couple of sentences that you might say to that agent, some things to think about?
If they're not having the success and they want more, first question I always ask them, well, show me your dial tracker. Like, the way I work is, if you don't have a dial tracker, we had nothing to talk about. The way,
amen, Mac. That's the first thing you need.
You need to create a ratio. Like, you have to create a compass. Just think of it. You're in the desert. I told you to go find something, and you're telling me I can't find it. Well, you got to first have a compass. I say, where's your compass? What are we talking about then? The way you get your compass, activity, right? If you do enough things, this is what Jim Rohn says, if you do something enough, a ratio will appear. You need to find your compass. If you suck, you suck. But we got to know that, right? We got to know what your number, you are somewhere, right? Activity. Now, remember these 3 things. Your goal is to create momentum, right? How do you create momentum? You compress time. Once you know what your ratio is, maybe you book 1 appointment every 100. Okay. Here's what you got to do. You do what it takes you in a week in half a week, right? Maybe you do what it took you a year to do it in 6 months. You compress time. Do what it takes you in 6 months, do it in 3 months. So if it takes you, I don't know, a week to dial 100 leads, do it in 2 days. That's how you increase momentum. And then once you increase momentum, here's what you don't account for. You are a human being, God's greatest creation. You're not a tree. You grow and you get better. That's what's awesome. What used to take you 100, before you even know it, you at first, you embrace the fact that you sucked, and maybe it does take you 100. Big deal, right? But because you accepted that fact versus lamenting it, complaining about it, listen, it's not the Maggio's fault that you have that baggage. How is it their fault? They want you to win. You're the one that chose that your 10, 20, 30 years. You did not develop the skills you needed to win. That's not on them. That's on you, right? Whatever that is. Accept that. And now we're going to roll with it. Roll with it. Once you embrace that, all of a sudden, you'll get better and better and better. That's why I would say find your compass. And for a lot of people, guys, it has nothing, I'm talking zero, to do with skill. It's literally, I'm talking, y'all, I kid you not, literally activity. The number one, actually, he was number two. I love him, dude. Homies. We got top internet. Look, listen, that's what I love about this business. When I see people on the stage the last day of conference, I'm like, that fool did it? I'm like, what? He beat me? I'm like, dude, hey, and I love him. I'm not knocking his abilities. Dude that was a number two writer in the company had a lisp. He had a lisp. Most people would think, oh, because I have a lisp, I guess I can't book appointments. Dude helped like 1.2 families. 1,000, so 1,000 per family, 1.2 million, y'all. Come on. So again, don't blame anyone, blame you. Like, right? Once you own it and stop complaining, go to your leadership and say, listen, I wanna do this. Help me create a plan. And then you gotta track it. If you can't measure it, you cannot manage it. You will be lost. And here's what we know. The human mind, this is just the way we're built. It will never, ever begin a journey it does not think it can finish. It'll give up. How do you know to keep going? You have to track it. Last thing, you ever been on a long trip? It's a long trip, but what makes you keep going? Oh, we're only
get there.
Wow, it's halfway. Okay, a little bit longer. A woman, what makes her keep going? She knows it's only 9 months for that baby to be in her tummy. What if you got pregnant? Some kids took 2 years, 4 years. Like they'd be like, I'm done. Get this thing out of me. But because it's only 9 months, they can go through the whole journey. That's what you need. You need a plan, and your leadership knows it, y'all. So just reach up and be willing to do the work. Game over. 5 years.
I love that. I love it. And this all goes back to, like you said, activity and also work ethic. Guys, work ethic plays a huge part in this. It's activity, work ethic, and mindset. Those three things working together are going to build, exactly what we're talking about here. You need that compass. I love what Mac just said. Like if as a woman, you were pregnant and you didn't know how long does a baby take to develop and what that process looks like. It might look a lot different for some of us, right? Some of us might not have been here, right? If it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years, but we know that the destination is 9 months, right? Just like with this, we know if we're tracking, hey, I have to talk to X amount of people on these leads to get X result. But until you know that, there's not a whole lot that your leadership team can do to help you out because you're not tracking your own numbers, right? So you just said so many things. I want to mic drop there, but essentially embrace the stuff, accept what you're doing and roll with it. Take self-accountability and create momentum. When you create momentum and you keep building it, it's literally like a ball that's going, you have to work it up the hill, then you got to work it back down the hill. And when you work it back down the hill, it's a heck of a lot easier than when you're working it up the hill. And just like Mac's saying, everybody's learning curve is going to be a little bit different. But with that being said, it doesn't matter what it looks like as long as you have those numbers, you know what you're aiming for. So Mac, you absolutely crushed this call. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being on and willing to help us out. Anything you want to wrap up with before we hop off?
Hey, I won't do a mic drop. I'll do a bottle drop.
All right, there we go.
How's that?
Perfect. That was perfect. I
All right, y'all.
appreciate you being on.